welcome you to Fort Washington, Pennsylvania for the USA Ultimate Pro Championships. A championship triple header begins with Chicago Machine and New York PoNY. Pride of New York, the defending national champs. Chicago Machine looking to make a statement heading towards Nationals 2019. Yesterday in the semifinals, PoNY overcame a 3-goal deficit, took down Sub-Zero from Minneapolis on Universe. Machine also was down early, came back to beat Raleigh Ring of Fire 14-12. So we got PoNY and Machine. Delighted to have you with us. With Ian Toner, I am Evan Lepler. Good morning. It's an overcast day. There may be some rain, but we know PoNY's a national champ. We know they're good. I think the story of this tournament has been how well Machine's played.
That's right. Coming into this season, we saw the roster release, and we expected them to be a truly dominant top four force. Earlier this season, they haven't played up to that potential, but right now we're seeing them hit their stride and reach a championship caliber level.
No question about it. Chicago Machine looking very much like a contender. We saw them win the U.S. Open in Rhode Island a few years ago. A couple of years ago at Pro Championships, they went to the finals, lost a close game with Revolver. They've added a dynamic cutter in Joe White from Carleton. How has he added explosiveness to this Machine offense?
Well, he's one of those multi-dual threat players who has so many tools in his toolbox to deploy against his opponents. He's a dangerous thrower. He's got a frame that he can use and really box people out and command space and respect all over the field as a receiver.
Part of the gold medal winning USA mixed team in Germany this past summer. New York PoNY. It's possible they're playing for the number 1 seed at Nationals today, despite the fact that they're the 3 seed at this tournament. The 2018 Triple Crown winners, they stumbled at the U.S. Open, but they're looking strong. They've got Ben Yacht back. They've got Jimmy Mickle. He's had a little bit of a funky weekend, but his performance today is going to be key.
Yeah, that's right. More often than not, we're talking about how consistently great Mickle is and how much he drives the offense, but he's had some uncharacteristic mistakes throughout the course of this weekend. And his team has been able to back him up, and the talent around him has risen to the challenge. Now the question is, how will Jimmy raise his game in this championship setting?
He'll be playing offense for Ben Hoovelin's PoNY, Pride of New York. PoNY and Machine have played a bunch of great games through the years. They went to the Universe Point in quarters at Nationals last year. They played a Universe Point game on Friday morning here at the Pro Championships. The next chapter of Chicago and New York coming up. The USA Ultimate Pro Championships are presented by the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistoryboook.com. And by Discraft, home of the UltraStar, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit Discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. The drizzle has begun, but that's not going to deter the energy and enthusiasm from Pride of New York, the defending USA Ultimate National Champions. Getting some last words of wisdom from their head coach, Ben Van Hoevelen, who will be coaching the USA national team that'll head to the Netherlands next summer. For a little more on the game plans for PoNY and Chicago Machine, we welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, enduring the elements on the field, Megan Tormey. Hey, Megan.
Thanks so much, Evan. These two teams are 1-1 this season. Machine eked out a 1-point victory against PoNY Colorado Cup that was held in July of this year. And then earlier in this tournament, PoNY beat Machine by 2 points. Now, both teams feel that history has given them enough to put together a winning game plan. Coach Andy Nielsen of Chicago says PoNY's offense likes to take up a lot of space. So they are opening up the defensive artillery to try and take that space away. He said they're going to be constantly changing their looks to keep PoNY on their toes. To that end, Coach Brian Jones of PoNY says that they are expecting zone looks from Machine. They have been practicing for such a contingency and are ready for whatever Machine shows them.
Behind you, Megan, Pavlianis and Joe White strutting around. Machine will begin the game on defense. Johnny Bansfield, the dynamic Von Allen Gielan, joined by Nate Goff, former Madison star Peter Graffey joins Machine this year. He's made quite an impact with Seth Weaver, another rookie, the veteran handler defender Walden Nelson, and the Carleton product Tim Schock for Coach Andy Nielsen. Lindsley, Dean, Mickle, Kocher, Yacht, Keegan Thorne. It's a superstar-laden lineup for PoNY. They will be without their dynamic handler Harper Garvey. He's nursing a hamstring injury and is not expected to play today. Machine in the red will begin the game on D. Johnny Bansfield played with Michigan's high five in the past. And Ian Toner, the weather could be a factor here this afternoon and this morning.
Yeah, we've seen some storms rolling in over the radar. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of delay. I think it's all going to come down to the intensity of what rolls through and if we see any lightning here in the area.
Pony's offense has not been as pristine as you might expect based on the personnel they've got on the field. You look at Cotter, Lindsley, Mickle, three guys who were on the USA World Games team a couple years ago. And then you add in Sean Keegan and Ben Yott, two dynamic players who have won championships at multiple levels. You expect them to just cruise their way down the field, but they have not had the easy time that you've expected. Why do you think that is?
I think it's been a combination of execution errors. We've seen Jimmy Mickle missing a lot of deep shots short, his backhand not being quite as effective as it has been in other scenarios. And there's also an element of these slightly new personnel needing to get more and more comfortable with each other.
Mickle collides with Graffy, who is coming in for the poach. Jimmy has the disc, called a foul. Pony smooth so far, right on the goal line on their opening possession. The former Callahan winner at the University of Colorado 5 years ago dishes back to Grant Lindsley. Lindsley was an opponent of Pony in the finals of Nationals last year, playing with San Francisco Revolver. With that team, he won a title 2 years ago.
And I think another part of Pony's offensive slowing down this weekend, so to speak, is that teams are just getting better and better at keying in on Pony's offensive reset strategies and second and third looks. So they're able to anticipate those looks that much more quickly.
Alex Thorne in the end zone, making the opening catch for the score. Alex Thorne, another newcomer who may not have gotten the hype or publicity as Grant Lindsley, but he has been an important addition for this team, a stabilizing presence out there, filling his role.
Yeah, especially with the absence of Harper Garvey. He's one of those guys who can handle, who can be active in the reset space, be a little bit of a hybrid if needed, and he's got the throwing skill set and the vision to continue moving the disc quite well for this team. And I think you learned, Evan, this weekend in a conversation you had with his father, Henry Thorne, that the Pony Temper matchup earlier in this tournament was the first time that Alex matched up against his brother, Max Thorne, in a club game.
Yeah, they were college teammates at University of Pittsburgh and played on Pittsburgh together. Alex had been studying and playing in Europe the past several years, so they didn't intersect. It was a tough game for the Thorne parents to watch. Henry and Karen Thorne, longtime Ultimate players as well. Henry said that both his sons were playing offense, so thankfully he didn't have to watch them match up against each other, because he said he wasn't sure how he would handle that. Former Boston Ironside defensive standout Jack Hatchett on the launch. And now we see the Chicago O-line, quarterbacked by Pavel Giannis, who's established himself as one of the superb leaders in Ultimate in terms of piloting a team and distributing the disc. He can throw short, he can throw long, he can throw the middle throws too. Looks like Evan Paget picks up Giannis on the opening defensive possession for Pony. There's Zane Rankin, the former Seattle star. And there's the lightning horn. Had a sense it might be coming. Players impervious at the moment. And now the observers wave their arms in the air, and at 1-0 on the second point, we will be in a delay. There's a large splotch of weather heading this way. We saw it We knew it was coming. The game plan was to start the game and hope for the best, and here we are.
I wonder how many more players are going to be donning gloves after this weather delay. You see some have preferences to just keep things natural and use their bare hands in any conditions, and others like to break out those materials for the extra grip.
How frustrating is this for a player?
I think it's very frustrating. I personally hate having to warm up multiple times in the same day. I hate it when I get multiple bye rounds over the course of a tournament. I'd just rather play straight all the way through.
Well, frustration will be abound because we are in a delay. It's going to be at least 30 minutes. Well, if we get an update, we'll come back to you. New York up 1-0 early in the final. From the department of you never know what you're going to see in an ultimate tournament, that is AMP's Pink Flamingo. We'll see more of that later on when AMP takes on Dragon Thrust in the mixed final. On the first throw as we resume play in the men's final, Chicago Machine turns it over, and here comes PoNY looking for the first break of the game. After a delay of about an hour and a half, Chicago and New York have retaken the field. Evan Lepler with the intoner, and that's Jabron Meeser in the end zone. PoNY, with the game's first break, leads 2-0.
Well, you can see who has more energy and who wanted to get off to the races coming out of this delay. This PoNY offense wasted no time after the turnover. Fast breaking, giving and going between Padgett and Hatchett, and then using the width of the field once they got to the red zone. I think Joe White had an opportunity to get over and seal the mark, but you get a look here, Ben Spielman jumping the lane, getting that block, and then this D-line offense working quickly. You see, just out of your frame, White doesn't quite get around to stop that backhand throw when his team was forcing the PoNY offense to throw down the flick lane.
Ben Spielman with the block, Jack Hatchett with the assist, and Jabron Meeser with the score to make it 2-0. We began a little after 9 a.m. here in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. Jimmy Mickle hit Alex Thorne for the first offensive score for PoNY. And now Chicago's O-line with its second chance to strike. Jack Hatchett, longtime Boston star, coming to New York this year, one of their marquee additions. He's trying to win his second title as a club athlete, one with Boston Ironside in Rockford, Illinois a few years ago. For so many years this New York PoNY team was an average team with a phenomenal Twitter account, and now here they are. The Twitter account is the afterthought, and this squad has all the pieces to make a run at a second straight title. Zane Rankin unleashes deep, intended for Joe White, and he makes a great play on the disc and then spikes it right in Kevin Norton's face.
You could tell Joe White getting some frustration out there after that last point, and I'm sure he wasn't happy with the physicality from Norton. I understand they were just bumping as they went down the lane, but Norton, his follow-through after going up for the disc, really coming down dangerously on White's back. I mean, I think there's an argument for a card to be issued there. You've got to have better body control and a clear path to land when you go up.
Joe White, going to be such an important player for Chicago Machine today. One of their several additions from the Michigan High Five team that folded after last year. Joe White, just 21 years old. Still a student at Carleton. And Zane Rankin, another important addition coming over from Seattle Sockeye, launching that hook, and a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's what he does best. He's a strong receiver who can distribute and stretch the field after he gets that first pass.
No Harper Garvey to quarterback this PoNY offense, so it's Sean Keegan initiating to Jimmy Mickle. Alex Thorne, Michael Brenner, Chris Kocher, Grant Lindsley, and Ben Yacht also on the field.
some pretty significant feet.
Here's Kocher. Von Alangilan, who was named as the Defensive Player of the Year by Ultiworld.com last year, has the Kocher matchup. The veteran Canner on Mickle. And the speedy Michael Pardo on Grant Lindsley. When you look at the Chicago Machine D-line, what stands out to you? How good can they be?
I was impressed from the very start of this point at how intelligently they were peeling off their assignments to stop that front of the stack, second in the stack initiation.
First goal for Yacht in his first tournament with PoNY this year. Lindsley picks up the assist, and it's 3-1 New York.
A lot of patience here from the PoNY offense. You could see they had to work against some intelligent switches and poaches from the Chicago Machine defense, but once that defense settled into its man-to-man person matchups, the rest of these throwers knew where to look and where the soft spots would be, attacking the strike space and also swinging.
Ben Yacht, former college champ at the University of Minnesota, won his first club title last fall in San Diego with PoNY. Grant Lindsley, the loser in the club final last year with Revolver. Ian, we are 55 days away from determining our 2019 national champions. Nationals heading back to San Diego for the second year in a row.
Tell you what, I'm already looking forward to going to San Diego in late October.
Hopefully we don't have any lightning delays while we're there. I'd be very surprised if we did. PoNY 3-0 in pool play. They fell behind in their semifinal game against Sub-Zero, but rallied back. And this game a rematch of the pool play game that happened in the 10:30 round, or I should say the 8:30 round on Friday morning. Giannis squeezes it through. Machine turns it over for the second time, intended for North, but the throw is errant. Second turnover for Machine. So far, PoNY's been perfect. Meeser's shot to the end zone, denied. And then caught on the second effort by both Rankin and Hatchett. Tie goes to the offense. They'll debate who had it first. The observers converge. This one was close.
Defensive player caught the disc first. It's going to be his disc.
Start the check. Start with the check.
Start with the check. 20 seconds to walk the line. 20 seconds.
So Rankin gets credit for the block. This is Paul Arders. Over to Rankin. Arders, another member of that Michigan contingent that has bolstered Machine's firepower collectively. They're not looking too hot right now. Kyle Rutledge turns it over. Third turn to the point. PoNY looking for its second break. Here's Meeser, who scored the goal in the first one and threw the turnover earlier the point to Katz. Also, Ben Katz's first tournament of the year for PoNY, and the flick up the middle right through the grasp of Meeser. Machine takes over. Good news is it's getting brighter here in Pennsylvania. Feel the sun trying to poke through the thick cloud cover on this Labor Day Monday. Evangelides into the end zone. And Arders has his first goal of the final. Not the easiest of holds, but Machine does convert. And it's 3-2.
Yeah, it feels like these Machine throwers and receivers are just having trouble getting on the same page. Not fully anticipating where the next cut is going to stop, where the next throw is going to originate. They just need some reps here in the early stages of this game to boost their confidence and get on the same page. And fortunately, on this point, they were able to get the disc back a few times.
Arter's the product of Ohio State University, 26 years old. Giving this machine O-line a boost. If you missed our open, one of the things we discussed was the New York offense and how they have not been as smooth this weekend as we've come to expect. I think most of the PoNY offensive players have appreciated their team's defensive effort because that's been the motor behind their success this weekend.
Yeah, they've had to engineer several comebacks throughout this weekend, and not just the play of the offense, but the pieces, not just the play of the defense, but the pieces that have been added to the defense throughout the weekend. Jeff Babbitt playing in his first tournament with PoNY this year, making such a huge difference in racking up blocks against downfield opponents.
He might be the best defender in the division right now. Nickel holsters had Keegan bolting deep. Lindsley marked by Alan Gilon. He was tempered in how he set the mark, trying to cut off the angle downfield. Now it's Mickle. Nate Goff bouncing on Chris Kotcher this particular point. Some continued good downfield defense from Chicago Machine.
Yeah, it feels like this defense in particular is especially dialed in and understanding where the next look is going to be. When Grant Lindsley throws a pump fake, okay, I know what that means for this initiating cutter at the front of the stack and the guy at the back of the stack. So it's less reaction and more anticipation from this Machine defense.
Keegan Scoobers for Kotcher. Bluffs a backhand. And it takes the reset. PoNY still on its own side of the field. And Mickle crosses midfield for Yacht. New York considers Yacht such a good release valve. He's almost always open under. Hammer from Keegan. Dug out and hung on to by Lindsley for the PoNY score to make it 4-2.
And it's interesting, Sean Keegan in years past has been a committed proponent of wearing gloves in all kinds of conditions, but this year he came in with a new attitude, felt that going barehanded was best and felt most natural for him, and even on this wet, slippery turf, he's got no problem taking the field without gloves and torquing an overhead throw that requires a lot of grip and a lot of snap.
It's worth noting they are playing on turf, so it hopefully is drained reasonably well. Perhaps we can get an update from Megan down on the field momentarily about the playing conditions. When PoNY completes as many passes as they did, the disc isn't hitting the ground, and presumably the plastic is dry.
And you saw how important it was for Michael Brenner catching that blading pull at the beginning of the point.
Let's go down to Megan on the sidelines. How is the surface down there, Meagles?
Earlier.
Having some audio issues. The storm that came through was really a powerful one that dumped a good bunch of water on the field and our broadcast facility. We are in the elements here in the Keystone State. No indoor press box for us snooty broadcasters. Marquez Brownlee's on the mark. He played sparingly throughout the weekend. Good to see him back out there for the final. Giannis shooting it. Joe White has another Chicago score.
And Joe White looks focused to me. We saw that early turnover right after the weather delay, but he's been on a mission to have an impact and really stretch the field for his offense ever since then. He's drawn a couple of different matchups, and you can see he's got no problem sneaking deep here.
We were chatting with Chicago Machine head coach Andy Nielsen before the game. Nielsen in his 5th year as the head coach also played half dozen seasons for Chicago. And I think they're still figuring out exactly what Joe White can be. But I think everyone agrees he is a generational talent. If he can harness all of his abilities, he could be one of the best players in the sport for the next decade.
It's a real possibility, and we saw that potential starting to peak and shine through back in his early days at Carleton College when he was just a young contributor throwing goal line hammers in national semifinal and national championship games.
It's a great history and tradition for the Carleton College cut ultimate team. Feels like every team at the Pro Championships and every good team in the club division has a handful of Carleton alums. Here's another one of them, Sam Canner, launching the pull. Grant Lindsley, a Carleton product on the PoNY O-line. Here's Keegan. Sean played his college ultimate for University of Delaware Sideshow. Mickle back to Keegan. When you watch this PoNY offense without Harper Garvey, does it feel different to you?
Honestly, maybe I don't have as strong an appreciation for Harper as other people do, but I just think they have so much offensive depth that, you know, sliding Alex Thorne into that role or Michael Brenner into that role, it doesn't jump off the screen at me. You know, hey, oh my God, this offense is missing Harper. There's no question that he's a talented and field-stretching thrower.
PoNY's first O-line turnover is a well-timed poach from Johnny Bansfield. Leads to the pick. I just think Garvey and Keegan have developed such a good rapport in the backfield that not having Harper forces everyone else to adjust, and Alex Thorne's changing his role a little bit. And Grant Lindsley and Jimmy Mickle are changing their roles a little bit. I think that has something to do with the PoNY offense not humming like we saw it earlier this year. Pardo into the end zone to Nate Goff. That's the first break of the game for the Chicago Machine D. And we're back on serve, tied 4-all.
Well, Johnny Bansfield was roaming and taking calculated risks all point long. You saw him in the stack, loosely guarding Ben Yacht. Earlier in the point, he came all the way out in the lane and left his assignment alone because he knew, based on the positioning of that particular cutter, that that was the opportune moment to get out there, and he wouldn't get burned by leaving his assignment. And he's just got such great vision and awareness. Strong defensive execution there.
Pardo to Goff for the score. Nate Goff is another guy, Ian, who has really developed. Played with Raleigh Ring of Fire out of the University of South Carolina, an East Coast guy that moved to the Midwest for grad school, and he's just gotten better and better. I think he's gotten taller. He certainly added muscle. Chicago Machine, their lone loss at the Pro Championships. 11-9 to PoNY in pool play. 15-9 over Double Wide, and then 14-12 over Nate Goff's old team, Raleigh Ring of Fire. It was an interesting tournament for Ring. They were shorthanded. We congratulate Noah Saul on getting married this weekend, and Noah's brother Isaac, who plays for PoNY, was not with PoNY for the weekend. He was up in Maine celebrating the wedding. Isaac did arrive here today, although he's not expected to play in the game. But a shorthanded Raleigh team looked fantastic on Friday. They went 3-0, and then they really stumbled out of the gates. I should say they looked fantastic on Saturday. They stumbled out of the gates on Sunday. They needed a great comeback to get by Boston Dig, a team that had gone winless the first day of the tournament. And then Ring didn't quite look like itself against Machine either.
Couple of unforced errors.
There's a drop pull in that game. I would still buy Ring stock heading into Nationals. I think they have another gear to hit.
Yeah, you factor in how much time is left to improve between now and Nationals. The fact that players like Noah Saul and Justin Allen and J.D. Hastings weren't here to contribute this weekend. There's more in the tank that I think they can tap.
7.5 weeks between now and the start of Club Nationals in San Diego. Obviously, the series is what's on tap next, sectionals and then regionals. Everybody has to qualify for the national championships. Again, PoNY exuding patience. Here's Alex Thorne. Mickle to Thorne. Here's Kocher. Three guys who were on the USA World Games team 2 years ago on this O-line. With Mickle, Kocher, and Lindsley. Joined by Keegan, Little, Thorne, and downfield William Dean. No Benyat at this point for PoNY. A laser from Keegan to Lindsley to punctuate the point.
Well, I think this point I think both teams can walk away from this feeling like this point was a win. The Chicago defense has to be proud of how many throws it took this PoNY offense to score. One of their learnings from the Friday game was letting up too many quick 3-goal, easy pull play scores. And when you make the offense expend this much mental energy and test their patience this much, I think that's something that the defense can hang its hat on, especially early in the game. And on the flip side of that coin, PoNY can say, hey, they'll throw anything at us. We've seen their zone fluster us before, but we know we have the patience and the cohesion to get through the challenge.
Second assist for Sean Keegan, who has now won 2 club titles, 2014 with Denver Johnny Bravo, team that Ian Toner played for as well, and then last year with PoNY. To win 1 club title is obviously very special. To win multiple puts you on a list that gets slimmer and slimmer the more you go up the...
And not just multiple, but multiple with different programs as well.
I believe we got the audio issues sorted out. We go down on the field and find out with Megan Tormey.
Thanks, Evan. You know, the fields are surprisingly dry considering the rain we experienced earlier, but there is still just enough moisture on the surface that if the disc hits the ground, it's going to pick up a little bit of that and perhaps come slightly slipperier.
Crystal clear audio. Good to hear from Megan. When you were playing after rain, would you like to be on turf as opposed to the muddy grass?
Yeah, I think so. And I also went back and forth, as Keegan has, between, you know, only wearing gloves in every condition possible.
Here's White shooting it to Rankin. He has a few steps. Will the throw come back in? No. So a turnover from White on the deep shot gives PoNY another break chance.
And you could absolutely see what White was looking at, but he had to bend that deeper and deeper down a same half, almost a same third of the field. He's a great thrower. We're playing at the top level of the game, but that's just so tough to execute on a consistent basis.
Katz hits Meeser. Back to Ben Katz. He's got Hatchet going. He holstered, though. Sneaks it past Arders. Spielman over to Paget. Had 2 breaks so far, 1 per side. Katz lost the disc. He was bumped by Yitting Howe. PoNY maintains possession. Here's Meeser. To Katz. You can tell Machine does not want to get beat deep.
They don't want those quick, easy, fast break, low volume goals.
And we asked Andy Nielsen what was the story of the pool play game against PoNY. He said they had 2 or 3 3-throw goals. Effective pull plays that they didn't really have to work for, he said. Want to make them work for everything. Katz, one of the hardest workers in the game. Breaks Howe's mark to get it to Jeff Babbitt. Here's Spielman. Past the bidding Rankin. Schlor to Babbitt, back to Katz.
And you can see how jumbled the PoNY supposed vertical stack is here at this point. You've got a wall of 3 or 4 cutters at the front.
That'll work. Back of the end zone. PoNY breaks to take a 6-4 lead. Jack Hatchett with an assist earlier as his first goal of the final. Seems relatively nonplussed about it.
Well, after all the patience and swinging and small ball here in the red zone, I have to say I was not expecting a hammer to cap things off, but we know these PoNY throwers, especially the anchors of their D-line like Ben Katz, have the vision to pull those things off. And Jack Hatchett just settles into that soft spot in the back corner.
Jack Hatchett recently engaged. Congratulations to Jack and his fiancée, Claudia Tajima, who plays for Boston Brute Squad. And Ben Katz, just one of the unique players in the sport. You know, doesn't have great size. I'm not sure if you put him in a foot race, straight line speed, he would be one of the faster guys, but he's got a quickness and an intelligence to him that just enables him to be successful in pretty much any situation.
Yeah, I think it's the intelligence that really sets him apart. He makes really great decisions with the disc when valuing the disc with those break opportunities is more important than ever. And he also understands when there's opportunity for him to take an opportunistic poach or an opportunistic sag in the lane to muddy up the waters for the opposing offense.
Timeout was called after that last point, believed by Chicago Machine. Ben Van Hoevelen talking to the last PoNY D-line on the sideline. Talked about Sean Keegan as one of Ian Toner's former teammates. There are a lot of guys on this field today, and there's Ian, the 2014 college champ. How did it feel to hoist that trophy?
Club champion.
Yeah, I'm sorry, club champion.
But yeah, that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll be the first to tell you, I certainly rode Jimmy and Sean and everyone else's coattails to that championship, but some incredible memories and lessons, and proud to be able to say that I pushed those guys in practice sometimes and was able to learn a thing or two from them over the years.
We asked you off the air who is your favorite teammate, and you refused to give us an answer. I assume you just were saving that answer for the world.
Nope. Yep. We're going to be good, and we're going to say that I've had a bunch of great teammates over the years, and that's where we'll keep it.
Machine, another execution error on the reset. Shanahan trying to get it to Giannis. Great field position for Matt Lamar. Shooting it into traffic, and an ill-advised throw there from Clark Kofer.
Yeah, it looked like he had a closer swing open, Joshua Stevens Stein, but he had eyes for that back corner of the end zone. You see, you could see Norton in the back corner. Too much machine traffic in the area.
And Norton halted his cut. You can see what the thrower saw. He saw a cutter having a couple steps, but Norton stopped the cut. The defenders easily have the block. Milo Snyder bouncing around defensively. Here's Keegan North. Machine leadership has raved about the type of addition that North has been.
We talked to Brian Jones before the game, and we know the Pony coaching staff thinks highly of him as well and is concerned about him from a matchup standpoint, but an unfortunate overthrow there.
One of the few errors that Keegan North has made throughout the tournament. And I said it as a joke to you before the game, but I think there's some truth to it. This game could come down to whichever Keegan plays better. Sean Keegan for Pony or Keegan North for Machine. They're two X factors.
Yeah, they both shoulder so much of the load offensively. Sean Keegan probably garnering a few more touches per game, but Keegan North doing so much more away from the disc as well.
Mike Drost, his twin brother Ryan was here in Pennsylvania playing with New York Exist. I mistook one for the other a couple times at the fields. Shot, Marquez Brownlee lets it go, and Mike Drost has the goal.
Well, Clark Kofer is happy to get that one back after his red zone turnover. And as a coach, you love to see that your player still has confidence and has enough mental strength to go forward and pull the trigger when the right option is there. And there was enough separation for both Brownlee and Drost to finish that one off.
So it's a 3-0 run for New York, back-to-back breaks. Offense has only held one of the last 4 points that we've played. And New York is within 1 point of taking it to half. Evan Padgett getting some love from Sean Keegan. And there's Bo Kittredge on the sideline as well. Mike Drost, his twin brother Ryan, playing for the mixed team out of New York. The interesting thing about this Pony team is you can talk about all the superstars that they have, the World Games guys, and Sean Keegan, Ben Yacht. They've got a lot of really good role players on this team. I think Drost and Lamar certainly are in that category of key guys that they count on to do the little things to help their big guns succeed.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of those role players are concentrated on the defense, and that gives Brian Jones a lot of flexibility to deploy different D-lines throughout the course of a game.
Testing Jeff Babbitt, usually not a good idea, and it's not going to work out for Chicago this time on the huck intended for Evangelides. How many teams have we seen test Jeff Babbitt and live to regret it?
Brian Jones's unofficial count was 6 blocks for Babbitt yesterday alone.
Felt like 16 watching them on the fields in Royersford. Deep shot, Babbitt, Pony takes it to the half. Bookends for the best defensive player in the division right now by my estimation. 8-4. And New York takes it to half on a 4-0 run.
A lot of confidence there from Jack Hatchett, trusting that Babbitt would be able to read where this throw would go up as we take a step back first and look at this just man-to-man battle that Babbitt wins in the air as he does so frequently. And then this Pony D-line, as we talked about earlier, they don't waste any time waiting for people to get into space. They just attack quickly. Rarely holding the disc for more than 3 seconds, just trying to keep it moving. Of course, an exception there with Little's possession closer to midfield, and then Hatchet going against the grain, shooting deep into that break space at the front corner of the end zone.
So Hatchet involved in 3 of the 8 Pony scores, bookends for Jeff Babbitt. Chicago Machine has work to do, trailing 8-4 at the half. Their head coach, Andy Nielsen, standing by with our Megan Tormey.
Thanks, Evan. Andy, you said one thing that you were really impressed with from your team this weekend is their ability to right the ship. Going down 3 breaks in a row, obviously you have some righting to do. What are you going to do?
Totally. I think that if we play with better pace with our offense, then we'll be a lot more successful. Right now, we're keeping the disc in one spot, and that's easier for their poaches to calibrate. So if we move the disc faster and bigger spaces side to side, we'll have a lot more opportunity to be successful.
Defense is going to have to step up to generate some opportunities. What else are we going to see from Machine that's going to generate those chances?
Yeah, I think we've been playing one-on-one defense and forcing them to throw a lot of passes. I think we're taking away the spaces that they want to attack pretty well. It's just making a play now.
This game started over 2 hours ago. We had an hour-and-a-half weather break. Do you feel like that has had any impact in your players' ability to step on the field and be focused?
No, I think we had a lot of good time together. I think that that's just another piece of adversity that we can rise up to. So I'm excited for all these challenges.
All right, well, good luck in the second half.
You.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Back to you, Evan.
Thanks so much, Megan. Appreciate the time with Coach Andy Nielsen. How about this? New York's Pony. Their superstars often lead the way. Chris Kocher, no goals, no assists. Jimmy Mickle, just 1 assist, yet Pony still up 4 at the half. We're back in Pennsylvania at the Pro Championships. Pony leads Machine 8-4 at the break. A 4-0 run from Pony after Machine was tied 4-all. 3 breaks in a row. Hatchet, Drost, and Babbitt involved in the goals. Let's take a look at some of the first half highlights. Ian Toner, a game that began with a couple Pony goals. They led 2-0. Then Machine went on a 4-2 run, then 4 straight from New York.
Yeah, it looked like Machine had a lot of trouble getting up to speed right out of the break. A couple turnovers early on, aggressive Pony defense, and New York's offense was just a little bit more patient as we see one of the multiple Joe White goals trying to get this Machine offense fired up here.
Jimmy Mickle, a relatively quiet first half. He didn't make any mistakes either. His 1 assist was on the goal before the weather delay. There's the goal from Ben Yacht that made it 3-1. And we saw Keegan North get involved, Evangelides to Paul Arders. That made it 3-2. Pavel Giannis launching long. The second goal for the Carleton product, Joe White. And then the first Machine break after the Pavlianis huck. Pardo Goff tied it up at 4. It's interesting because New York's O-line, they haven't just cruised against the Chicago defense. The Chicago defense has made it tough on them, but Pony's patience has prevailed.
Yeah, we've seen both defenses experiment with taking risks, peeling off their assignments, adding sags or lane poaches, and players like Johnny Bansfield and Jeff Babbitt on the opposing sides have found success in taking those chances.
Bookends for Jeff Babbitt took it to half. Ben Van Hoevelen, coach of Prada New York, standing by with Megan Tormey.
Thanks so much, Evan. So coming back from the break, you guys looked fired up. I know, somewhat jokingly, you created a weather committee. Harper Garvey is the sole person in the weather committee. Do you feel like that made any difference in your team's preparedness for a break during this game?
Absolutely. No, it's really important to know when you're going to have to play, and Harper gave us a very accurate forecast that I think helped everybody time their re-warming up, and we were ready to fire on all cylinders. I think all credit goes to Harper.
Well, I know that his contribution on the weather committee has been absolutely unparalleled, but your offense has had to adjust playing without him. How do you think the team has done in this game? As you mentioned earlier in the tournament, they struggled getting the system in place without him.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about the personnel we have on this O-line is that a lot of people can do a lot of different things. We've got a lot of very skilled players. And so, losing a player like Harper is quite big, but then you can shift, big throwers like Jimmy or Grant into that space back there, or Alex Thorne. We got a lot of interchangeable parts. So, and a lot of really high IQ ultimate players. So I think we've done a pretty good job of adjusting. The offensive problems that we have had, I think, are more system-based. We're not fully at home in what we want to do yet, kind of the basic fundamentals. But I'm excited to take the game film from this and other games and bring that into practice.
Well, you guys are sitting in a good spot going into the second half. Are you planning to do anything differently?
No, just put our foot on the gas.
Well, good luck in the second half. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Back to you, Evan.
Thanks so much. Harper Garvey actually took a couple meteorology classes in college. It's a real thing. He leads the weather insights for the New York PoNY squad that leads by 4 at the half. Chicago Machine trails by 4, but will receive and start this second half on offense. Jack Hatchett does the honors, and here we go. PoNY in front 8-4, the USA Ultimate Pro Championship on the line. PoNY won this event last year on their home turf in New York. Here's Keegan North shooting it to an open Yitting Howe, but it's hanging up there, and Jeff Babbitt just says, get out of my way.
Well, you could see the blown coverage leaving that assignment unmarked. But Keegan North just having trouble executing on swings and deep shots so far in this game.
Second block for Babbitt. By the way, one thing we should mention, we are about 37 minutes away from Soft Cap. They have changed the rules for the finals. In the tournament, we were playing a 70-minute Soft Cap. Now it's back to the more normal 85, but because of the delay, we've changed from a +2 soft cap to a +1 soft cap. There is no hard cap. When the cap goes off, if we haven't reached 15 already, as PoNY turns it over, and we'll just add 1 to the higher team score, designed to get the action moving along faster. The tentative start times for the mixed game, 12:40. The women's start 2:35. Perhaps a little ambitious. We'll see if we can stick to that schedule. Dragon Thrust and Philadelphia Amp in the mixed final, and then Denver Molly Brown against San Francisco Fury in the women's final. Here's Machine back on offense. Arders up the line to Rankin.
Well, it was interesting. After PoNY gave that disc back on the throwaway, Machine didn't really switch the field or complete any swings that forced the PoNY defense to reposition or recalibrate. But the Machine offense just had success going down the force side the entire way with a strike cut, a long underneath, just capping off that offensive hold.
And Arders, the quick continuation for Rankin to get Chicago back within 3. This is the second leg of the Triple Crown Tour. Seattle Sockeye won the U.S. Open back in early August. Seattle Sockeye part of a recreational tournament on the West Coast with some of the top West Coast teams. But Sockeye had a couple surprising losses in that tournament. They lost a bracket game to SoCal Condors and also lost a showcase game to San Francisco Revolver. We've had reports that Sockeye was playing with a fair share of practice players, was missing some of their key cogs. And I guess a recreational tournament affords you the opportunity to do that without anything serious. The question I have for you, Ian, is Sockeye the clear and obvious #1 seed going into Club Nationals no matter what happens today, or is there room for movement based upon this result or what we see in the series?
I don't think it's clear and obvious, and I don't think it's going to break down quite that easily. I think if PoNY wins today, I still put heavy stock in Sockeye's win over PoNY at the U.S. Open, and I still think Sakai is the #1 seed, barring any crazy slip-ups or serious underperformance at regionals from the Sakai team.
Does that make them the favorite going into nationals in your mind, or would they be the #1 seed, but you think PoNY with their late season additions resumes the
I can't. I think it's more shades of gray, and I think PoNY and Sakai are in that conversation together.
The two favorites.
As the two favorites. I think Sakai has proven it on the field by beating PoNY in a championship game that matters. And I think PoNY is also a slightly different team because they've been adding more pieces as the season has gone on, like Babbitt and Katz.
And Yacht. And Bo Kittredge.
Right.
I'll go on the record and say, assuming PoNY wins this game and doesn't slip up at regionals, I think they deserve to be the #1 seed at nationals. I think they deserve credit for playing both legs of the Triple Crown Tour. Sakai, not to say they lose points, but they certainly don't gain any points for making the trip to the Pro Championships. I also think the fact that PoNY won last year should be a factor. And obviously you can say it's a new season, but look, they're the defending champions. I think most astute observers would agree that they have the potential, if they aren't absolutely better than they were last year. And not that it matters all that much, but this is part of the conversation that will continue into October. It's a PoNY offensive point, their first of the second half. Alex Thorne. Interesting how Mickle kind of created that cut, took a couple steps downfield and then angled in the backfield, turning his back to Thorne.
I'm not positive if Bart Watson originated or started that cut, but it's one that he used to run a lot when he worked in the offensive backfield for Bravo, and sometimes with Revolver predating his Bravo days as well.
Watson, one of the great handlers in the sport. Here's a look at what's happened in the regular season across the men's division. Sakai won both the Pro Elite Challenge in Colorado and then took the U.S. Open in Minnesota as well. Nice win for the SoCal Condors, coming from behind against Denver Johnny Bravo a couple weeks ago in Rockford at Elite Select. This event here just outside of Philly, the final event of the regular season. Then we move on to the series, sectionals, regionals, and nationals in San Diego the weekend of October 24th through the 27th. PoNY won the Triple Crown Tour a year ago, winning the U.S. Open, the Pro Championships, and the national title. You get a financial bonus for doing that. Out of the timeout, Jimmy Mickle will be in possession. A product of Golden, Colorado. Spent a good portion of time alongside Chris Kocher playing in Australia. Played the World Ultimate Club Championships with the Sydney Colony team that went all the way to the finals, losing a really tight, exciting game to Revolver, and that was very close to the line. And in fact, William Dean could not keep it alive. So PoNY, with a mistake, opens the door for Machine to cut the deficit down to 2. Jeff Weiss rips a flick into the wind. Nate Goff is there. Mickle denies the dump, the throw over Alan Gilon, and then saved. Chicago has the break. Jeff Holm ran it down. The Northwestern product makes it a 2-goal game after the errant hammer from Lindsley.
Well, this Machine D-line offense, similar to what we saw from the PoNY D-line offense in the first half, just wasting no time getting off to the races after the turnover, not letting the O-line defense settle into its defensive set. And I'm sure Andy Nielsen's heart was racing after a couple of these throws went up. Nice execution there on the deep shot to Goff, but that finish a little scarier than anyone drew up at the point of Goff's release.
How you doing, by the way?
Nice awareness by Holm to track it down.
Can't believe you got to get another part.
Jeff Holm, his previous club experience includes time with ISO Atmo and the Greater Gary Goblins. Those teams did not make it to nationals, and now he has a real chance to make it to the big stage with Chicago Machine.
ISO Atmo, another one of those developmental men's programs in the Colorado scene. I know Inception was another team that has its own identity and has been challenging teams at South Central Regionals for years. Almost took down Double Wide a few years ago and played the Bravo team somewhat tightly in the backdoor game last year.
I'm just impressed you know something about ISO Atmo.
It helps having lived in Colorado for 5 years.
Jimmy Mickle waits for the swing and hits Chris Kocher downfield. Peter Graffi on the mark. Here's Yacht. Picked up by Pardo. Short lefty backhand to Mickle, and it appears Pardo made a call. No clear signal as to what the call was from either the player or the observer. One thing about precipitation, it is not usually audio friendly. And our tremendous crew here has just done a great job to keep us relatively dry and on the air, and that's a mistake by Yacht, forcing it to Mickle into traffic, easily defended by Machine. Steven Mance the block, and now here's Chicago, Peter Graffi. No, he can throw it the length of the field. He launches, testing Kocher. It's caught. Tim Schock hauls it in, and Chicago's within one.
Look, I'll be honest, this game has such a weird feel to it. We've been slowed down by the weather delay. We've seen these offenses, Pony's offense has been more comfortable. Machine's offense has just flat out struggled. I haven't seen anyone really winning the energy battle for an extended period of time. And now, all of a sudden, before we know it, this is back to being a one-goal game. And Machine's gone on a 3-0 run coming out of halftime. And the energy still just doesn't feel as palpable as a championship game.
It's a proud moment for Tim Schock, hauling in the huck, skying over Chris Kocher. Schock, a product of Carleton, played Youth Ultimate in Massachusetts out of Lexington, played club with Boston Dig in the past as well, and got the entire Machine team circling up, realizing that they are right in this thing, a 3-0 run to answer Pony's 4-0 rally that ended the first half.
I mean, part of it is like these events are great opportunities.
Some of the players from AMP
Do you start a mechanic?
ready to take the field in a little bit.
Throwing in, for an hour.
Chicago's got a lot of rookies on this team, including a bunch from Michigan and Madison that have transformed their depth.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of these players were key figures in high fives, trips to the national championships, but that program folded this past offseason, and it's hard to say which particular addition adds the most value to this Machine squad, because you've seen what Paul Arders has done for their offense, you've seen what Joe White has done for their offense, you've seen the intelligent defense of Johnny Bansfield. And if we want to be talking about additions, I know he suited up for Machine last year, but we haven't yet spoken about Kurt Gibson. He's been working his way back to health.
1 point as well, Ross Barker, former Madisonian, suffered a shoulder injury yesterday and unavailable today, but you're right. Kurt Gibson, another guy that has been nursing his way back to health, and they think could be a factor come October. Kurt Gibson, if you follow him on Instagram, was in Africa earlier this week. He was putting on an Instagram story from Morocco. Why was Kurt in Africa? It's an excellent question.
Well, a healthy Kurt Gibson in October,
It was not for the Amazing Race.
is a scary thought for anyone he might be suiting up against.
Gibson and Machine took PoNY to the brink in the quarterfinals last year at Nationals. Machine has gotten very close to really breaking through. And I don't know about you, Ian, but I genuinely think that Machine's ceiling this year is a national title. I think if all the pieces come together, they could win the whole thing.
I'm completely with you, and I felt that way when we saw their roster announced before the season began. You saw how much talent from around the region was coming to the team, how much talent was returning after last year's quarterfinals appearance, where, as you mentioned, they pushed PoNY to the brink.
Thorne with a daring shot, but Yacht makes the catch. And PoNY snapped Chicago's 3-0 run.
It's almost like Alex Thorne was going back to his days playing catch with Tyler DiGirolamo in college there. Knowing he's got a size matchup in a small space, hey, I'm going to throw this unorthodox thing that I know is going to work and might not necessarily be the #1 look with a different receiver. But he's got the experience and the throwing prowess and the trust with Yacht to pull it off.
Well, it's often been said that the Thorns have been playing Ultimate for a long time. Alex Thorne has been playing Ultimate since before he was born, because his mother, Karen, was 2 months pregnant when she played at Club Nationals in 1989. Alex was born in the spring of 1990. So he really had kind of the ultimate fervor before he came out of the womb. And he and his brother Max have been fantastic players at both the college and club levels throughout their careers. No, everyone with PoNY was very excited to add Alex Thorne to their roster this year. Former two-time college champion at Pittsburgh. One of the 3 Pittsburgh products on this PoNY squad, along with Isaac Saul and Michael Brenner. So 9-7, New York leads Chicago. Machine has never led in this game. Giannis, after plenty of pivots, hits Howe. And here's White to North. Foul called downfield. One of my favorite moments of the weekend was when Keegan North made a nice play. It may have been a bookends and then the score. And everyone on Chicago saluted him as if he was Jon Snow. Keegan the North.
I like that.
And they were saluting him in a very dignified, professional way.
Would you disown me as a friend and broadcast partner if I confessed that I'd never watched a full episode of Game of Thrones?
Chicago to the end zone for Kyle Rutledge as the head-shaking comments continue from Ian Toner.
That's what I'm here for.
9-8, Chicago gets within 1.
This might be the most comfortable we've seen this Machine offense look all game. And I know I've said this before on other broadcasts, but good things happen when you swing the disc and change the angle of attack. We saw, as Coach Andy Nielsen observed, in the first half, this offense was really stagnant. They were keeping the disc in one place for extended periods of time. And just like this, as we see them moving the disc across the width of the field, they're able to break the mark and continue the disc all the way down that break side into the end zone.
Arders to Rutledge for the Chicago score. 1-goal game, playing to 15. We are 19 minutes away from the +1 soft cap. And Ian Toner, I know you watch a lot of TV. I know you watch a lot of shows. We talk about a variety of shows. what are you waiting for? Why has Game of Thrones not been on your agenda? It's a cultural phenomenon.
I know. I think I understand how much content is out there. You know, what is it, 7 seasons, 8 seasons?
Yeah, but they're like 8 or 10 episode seasons.
And they're an hour each. I just know I would lose. I know my personality. I'd lose so much of my life. I wouldn't be able to resist. I'd stay up too late. I'd skip the gym.
You can afford to skip the gym every once in a while.
Oh, man. I guess you and I didn't have the same audition for the broadcasting position in that case. I had to do a physical fitness test for them to let me up in the booth.
Thank goodness I didn't have to do that. Stoppage. Keegan and Weaver appear to be debating the merits of a forearm push-off. High noon here in Pennsylvania. Good morning to everybody watching us out west. Keegan throws into the ground, and Chicago has a golden opportunity to tie the game here. Bansfield drops the hammer, and Ben Yacht comes up with the block. Little careless on that throw, huh?
A little greedy. Eyes for the end zone. And it can be difficult when the other defenders are rushing in behind the play.
Lindsley took off. He's got the taller Goff trailing him, but Lindsley read it well and floats it to Yacht, and just like that, PoNY doubles its lead. A couple throws after Chicago was looking for the tie.
How quickly the tables can turn. PoNY has its back against the wall. Machine is a throw away, a few yards away from evening things up. And I love the confidence from Keegan. Just unafraid to shoot deep after he had thrown that short field turnover to Lindsley. You know, I'm sure it's debatable with the PoNY coaching staff. You know, was that the optimal look with Lindsley stretching past the bigger Goff? Lindsley giving up some size there, but it did work out.
Third goal for Yacht. The second oldest of 8 Yacht brothers. Grew up in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. Grant Lindsley also with roots in the Minnesota area. Of course, he grew up in Atlanta, played for Paideia, spent some time in the North Star State in college. Grant Lindsley was playing for Atlanta's Chain Lightning when he was 16 years old. He and George Stubbs were high school teammates and club teammates as teenagers. The Lindsleys and the Stubbs would typically alternate which set of parents would tag along at each tournament to be the chaperone, because they would not stay in the hotel rooms with the adults. They would have kind of their own separate accommodations.
Smart on their part.
The Chain Lightning guys used to make fun of Grant because he would miss practices to attend running camp. So Grant's nickname in his early days of Ultimate was actually Running Camp.
Wonder if that's where he gets his springiness and endurance from.
Can't hurt. Middle of the field. This is Eric Schumacher launching. Joe White testing Hatchet. What a play! Hatchet got his fingertips on the disc to come up with a block.
Oh, look at the sideline speed chasing this one down.
Fantastic defensive play from Hatchet, the type of play he's been known to make in big spots throughout his career.
That's why Brian Jones and the rest of the staff have him on the Joe White matchup.
He so frequently guarded the other team's most dynamic cutter. Got lucky there. Padgett didn't really come to the disc, but Giannis unable to get there, flying by. Spielman continues to Katz. New York leading by 2 in the finals of the USA Ultimate Pro Championships being held in Pennsylvania. First couple of days in Royersford, and here today in Fort Washington, about 30 minutes down the road at Germantown Academy. Spielman shoots it, looking for hatchet, but Joe White elevates and gets a little revenge with the block on Jack. Evangelides rips it over a few Pony defenders, but Babbitt is there for his 3rd block of the game.
That's just one of those turnovers that really makes you scratch your head. You saw how deep North was. I'm sure Evangelides didn't necessarily see Babbitt there, but you know, when somebody's already that deep, just take that extra split second to double check and make sure it's not too good to be true.
Here's Katz on the up line cut with momentum, finds Paget. I'll tell you, Hatchet and Babbitt have been phenomenal in this final. They're real difference makers for the D-line. I think combined, they've got 4 blocks, a couple of goals, a couple assists. Two guys that Pony did not have a year ago. And there's Meeser turning it over for the 3rd time, overshooting the bidding Paget.
And what Machine needs after this turnover is some patience and consistency. And Pavlianis is going to call timeout before the disc is even tapped in.
4 turnovers so far on this point, matches the highest total of turns at any point in the game. Machine is right in it. So you look at the former college champions on these 2 teams. Kirk Gibson not on the field today, but won with Florida back in 2006. Evangelides, Canner, and White all winning with Carleton various years. Lindsley with Carleton, Saul and Thorne with Pittsburgh, Mickle with Colorado, and a couple years later, Ben Yacht with Minnesota Grey Duck.
Pavlianis winning with Colorado Mama Bird as well.
Right, I forgot about that. Love that Giannis continues to play with the Mama Bird hat. And on the back of the Mama Bird hat, it's stitched secondary player with potential.
That's such a great encapsulation of Pavlianis' mindset. He plays aggressively with a chip on his shoulder and takes comments like those personally in an effort to prove his doubters and his opponents wrong.
Initiates to White. Hatchet bouncing on the mark. White needs a release and finds Schumacher downfield. This is Howe. Arders. North. White with a tough grab. Worrying about the sideline and the sinking disc, and then another careless mistake from Chicago Machine. It just wasn't there. He wanted it to be, but it wasn't.
Yeah, Paul Arders was attacking that sideline space, but the window was closing quickly and quickly, and it's just hard to see when Arders is already that close to the sideline, how much more space there is for White to drop things in.
Spielman downfield. Here's Meeser. Paget. And he'll reset to Katz. Overcast skies here in Fort Washington, PA, as we see Babbitt showing off the hops yet again. He's not as tall as you might think he is. He often says that, you know, at a tournament, guy will be standing next to him on the sideline, and they'll say to him, I thought you were taller. Like, I thought you were 6'5" or 6'6". He's only like 6'2", 6'3", but he just plays so huge. Broad-shouldered former high school linebacker. Katz threads the needle, and Padgett thought he was in, but the observer says no.
Well, you looked at me for 2. Yeah.
Respect there. That looked like it was on the line.
All right, we're good. On the line, so we don't get a travel call too.
Evan Padgett saw coming in on 4, needs a reset, and it's fumbled away by Spielman. Uncharacteristic errors from both sides on the 19th point of this final. 6 total turns on this point. Previously, we had 6 total turnovers in the second half before this point at 10-8. Howe marked by Katz. To Giannis. Here's Arders. The wind is picking up a little bit, although I wouldn't blame the wind for the turnovers we've seen on this point.
Neither would I.
Little hesitation, and there will be no call. Arders looked like he may call the foul on Babbitt, but he signaled no violation, so the 7th turnover of the point gives the disc back to PoNY again. Did Babbitt get a piece of that with his fingertips?
I think he did.
Give him credit for a 4th block in the game.
I would.
Hatchet, daring throw. Evangelides knew it was coming more than Babbitt did. The 8th turnover of the point. Twice as many as any other point we've had in this game.
It's hard to see what the real structure is here from this Machine squad. After their turnover, they're trying to maybe settle into a spread horizontal stack, but
after a long labyrinthine route, Chicago Machine finally converts, and we're back within 1.
well, at this point, both of these squads just have to be ready that that point is over. I know the way the New York PoNY team will look at it, they're big on using the terminology body blows. We may not get the break, we may not finish the point, but we're going to exhaust our opponents to a certain degree that ends up being in our favor as the game wears on.
Who's more demoralized by that point? The team that needed 5 chances to score, or the team that had 4 break opportunities and could not cash in?
It's a fair question. I think PoNY's got to be a little bit more demoralized because they've seen their D-line offense operate more effectively and more efficiently this game. And I feel like that point was perhaps a step in the wrong direction when you want to see that offense becoming more consistent throughout the game.
Yitting Howe with the assist to cap the point. He's been on Machine for 4 years now. Makes him one of the longer tenured members of the team. I mean, Walden Nelson is the veteran most Machine player at 11 years now.
Steven Mance has been on the team for 8 years. Alex Evangelides has been on the team for 7 years, with a stop in San Francisco in the mix in that stretch as well. 6 years for Von Allen Gilon, and then after that, no one more than Howe and Mike Pardo and Pavel Giannis, who are in their 4th years with the franchise. Keegan sacrifices the yards, gets the reset to Mickle. What do you see from this Machine defense here, Ian?
It's not quite a cup.
It's like a 2-3-2.
Yeah. And some of those sides of the wall are also, and by the wall I mean the 3 middle level of defenders, they do not hesitate to come up and sometimes make it a 3-2-2 and be aggressive against those handler swings and opportunistic against those changes of the angle of attack.
Peter Graffi and Nate Goff are the deep defenders for Chicago. Graffi, one of the better in-the-air defensive players, so it's not like you just want to huck it up to Yacht, because Graffi can handle that matchup. Laser to Mickle in the middle. Now Keegan absorbs the contact, continues. Kocher with momentum. The riser into the end zone to cap the point to Sam Little.
Well, we see the tides shifting back and forth between these teams. Chicago going on a run out of half. And now New York's offense completing one of its most confidence-inspiring holds that we've seen this game. Patience, calmness, execution, spacing, working against some of the best tricks this Machine defensive squad has in its toolbox.
Sam Little and Chris Kocher, both with Georgia ties. Little played at the University of Georgia, and Chris Kocher played for Atlanta's Chain Lightning before progressing on to George Washington University out of the Paideia School. Clock winding down, which means the soft cap is most likely going to come on after this next point. Because of the weather delay, USA Ultimate made the decision, with the approval of all the teams, to shift the soft cap from +2 to +1, which means Machine has not as much time as they otherwise might to get back in this game. They'll add 1 to the higher score when that soft cap expires in 20 seconds. Going to be interesting to see. Machine has 10 seconds to score before that cap horn sounds. Giannis to Howe, and a stoppage ensures that the cap will go on after this next point. So it'll either be 11-10, game to 12, or if New York could get the disc and break, it would be 12-9, game to 13. Either way, Machine's going to need a handful of breaks to come back in this thing. +1 cap, much more common in World Flying Disc Federation World Championship events. I'm actually a fan of it. And thankfully we are not using the hard cap rule in the final, because the game should always be decided by the team that scores, not because we ran out of time and we're playing to a certain number. Rankin swings it over to Howe, and wide open in the back of the end zone. Kyle Rutledge hauls in the score. So it's 11-10, and Chicago will need back-to-back breaks to win this thing. New York will be on offense with a chance to close it out.
Well, this Machine offense finding its form, finding its flow late here in the second half. You saw the PoNY defense being aggressive in sagging off the break side cutters and trying to minimize the open space that those open side cutters were operating in. But the real backbreaker was that forced side toss to Yiding Howe that gained so much yardage down that flick sideline and worked Machine deep into the red zone.
Timeout taken by Chicago Machine. They will get their 7 best defensive players for this situation on the field, and PoNY will be on offense. Timeout gives us a chance to kind of evaluate the landscape heading into the series. Obviously, these two teams are in the mix. Seattle Sockeye. Who are the other teams that you think can win a championship this fall?
I think we'd be foolish to rule out Revolver. I understand how many departures they've had and how much change there's been. But there are also some constants and a good deal of experience in that program. And I think they, in the right setting, in the right scenario, could find themselves in the championship game, could earn their way to the championship game. I think Ring has the talent to do it. I think Truck has the talent to do it when they play to their full potential. Who else do you think is a part of that conversation?
I think you got the teams. You know, I'm curious to see if the SoCal Condors can be a factor. I don't think they're a true national championship contender, but I think, you know, if everything went great, they could find themselves in the semifinals. I think they've got the firepower to do that. I'm curious about Boston Dig. I wouldn't say I'm buying their stock right now, but you'd be foolish to overlook the history of Boston Ultimate because they have a tendency and a knack of putting it together in the fall. And I think the other team that would like to be mentioned in the conversation is probably Minneapolis Sub-Zero.
Yeah, they've brought a lot of pieces in from Madison Club and elsewhere just for this season in particular. And I don't know, they've just been so, their performances have been so inconsistent.
Yeah, they're uneven. They can look great for a half and then they can really stumble. New York with a chance to take the Pro Championship here in Pennsylvania. Sean Keegan, Grant Lindsley, Jimmy Mickle, Alex Thorne, Chris Kocher, Sam Little, and Ben Yacht on the field. Little catches a low throw from Mickle, who swings it for Lindsley. Here's Yacht.
You can see how intelligently Bansfield, White, and Canner are working at the back of that stack, switching assignments.
They were switching a ton, trying to squeeze it through the tight space to Keegan. A foul was called on Von Alan-Gilon, and he appears to disagree. Take a look.
What do you think?
It looked like a clean block to me, but I want to hear specifically what Keegan is calling the foul on.
My ruling, it's not a foul.
Hang on. It's going to start with the check. It's just going to start with
It starts with the check. Starts with the check.
Starts with the check. Yep. Okay. Defensive check. Whenever you're ready, Sean. 20.
Machine's disc trailing by 1 in a game to 12.
Former Carlton and Revolver teammates Canner and Lindsley, who've done so much battle together.
Matched up with one another to begin this point on Chicago's possession. It's White, Goff, Schock, Nelson, Alan-Gilon, Bansfield, and Canner for Machine. Chicago has never led in this game. The only tie was at 4-all. Pony has led pretty much the entire way, but a chance for Chicago to even this up at 11 and create universe. Here's White, few yards shy of the end zone. White over the top to Alan Gilon. 11 all.
Very fitting that Von Allen Gilon finishes off that point. He's put forth such great defensive effort all game long, earning the block at the most crucial moment against Keegan on that upline reset strike cut attempt. And then Joe White, now what, 1 for 2 on scoopers into the end zone this game, Evan?
Which isn't a great percentage, but
right.
This one worked out to tie the game. It's the 8th break of the game, 4 per side. Pony won the flip, chose to be on offense, and that's why Chicago will need an extra break if they're going to close this one out. Game to 12, the cap is on. And we'll take a look at who's on the field for each team for this pivotal point. Alan Gilon, the bookends. Jeff Babbitt joins the Pony O-line for this critical moment with Chris Kocher and Sean Keegan. Grant Lindsley, Jimmy Mickle both stay out there, no surprise, and Alex Thorne with Sam Little complement the 7. For Machine, it's Bansfield getting set to pull. Alan Gilon stays out there. Nelson running down the field, Sam Canner, Nate Goff, Peter Graffey, and Seth Weaver for Chicago Machine.
And you can see how comfortable Machine is settling into that poachy defense against the Pony vertical stack.
Yeah, right now, Canner, Bansfield, and Graffey just kind of hanging out in the lanes. It's a tough throw to sort of unlock some space for Pony there. You know, if Pony does not score here and Chicago does, then the defending national champs will go into nationals having not won a tournament in the season. But Babbitt comes back for the disc. He's shy of the goal line. And he was fouled by Graffey. Such great awareness from Jeff Babbitt.
And those are the spots that this Machine defense wants Peter Graffey in. They want him to be the deepest person in the zone or the last man back with a shot to make a play on a deep ball.
All right.
So Babbitt has possession of the disc. Dumps it to Lindsley. Pretty good defense from Alan Gilon on Mickle. Jimmy called a foul on Vaughn.
Wonder if Lindsley sees Babbitt in that back corner pointing to the back corner.
You're running into my body.
And might unleash a hammer after the disc is tapped back in.
Tony Bansfield floated back toward Babbitt. Now he's trying to creep back in. You can see Jeff just trying to hang up. You know, a throw to that back pylon might work.
Yeah. That's that one and that one, right? Hey, calm down. Right?
Blue card, team misconduct foul assessed to Seth Weaver for the continued contact on Sean Keegan. Lindsley's disc, floats it up high. Mickle unable to make the catch on the first effort, but on the second try, he's got it, and then the dish for the score. Sean Keegan throws the disc to the tennis courts, and New York Pony has won the Pro Championships for the second year in a row.
Not the convincing, dominating performance they were hoping for. Not the system-oriented final point, needing some bailout heroics from superstars like Jeff Babbitt to keep their championship hopes alive here. But Pony found a way to get things done. in this double game point thriller.
Heck of a play by Mickle to keep the disc alive, and then Keegan the clincher. Great recovery from Jimmy Mickle. He played a turnover-free final, Ian. And he had the first assist, and he had the last assist to give PoNY a 12-11 win over Chicago Machine. We'll chat with the winners when we return. One championship game in the books from Pennsylvania. New York PoNY Pro Champs.
The USA Ultimate Pro Championships are presented by the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the UltraStar, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit Discraft.com for all your custom disc needs.
Final score in the men's division at the USA Ultimate Pro Championships. PoNY 12, Machine 11, as close as it gets, but PoNY led wire to wire, and they pull it out. Megan Tormey standing by with the guy who threw the first and last assist of the game, Jimmy Mickle.
Thanks so much, Evan. Grant's swing pass sailed over your head. What was going through your mind in that moment?
Well, I knew they had backside help, so I thought I had to go up right away, and it hit off my hand. It's pretty wet. So I knew as soon as I didn't catch it, I had to go after it again because I kind of macked it. So it all happened really quickly, but glad there was no one else there to clean it up.
You know, you guys went into the half with a 4-point lead, 8-4, and then it slowly dwindled away. What were you thinking on the sideline as that was happening?
Yeah, I mean, against a team like Machine, no lead is really safe. We know what kind of defensive pressure they bring, and they do a really good job of making us work on every single point. So we looked at it as like we know their run is coming, and how do we prepare to like handle the pressure they're about to bring. So I think we did a good job staying calm. They definitely forced us into some difficult throws and decisions, but happy that our defense gave us a big enough lead to hold on.
Yeah, that has been a story of PoNY this weekend. Your defensive side has really helped keep you in some tight games, this notwithstanding. What's it like on the sideline watching your team, and what do you think has enabled them to take the step up this weekend?
I mean, they're all hungry. We just have a bunch of really good defenders that are all like ready to go out on any given point. So I mean, I know we have a really hard time at practice. We always joke that like practice is harder than games in a way because of how hard they make us work. So it's honestly nice to see them doing that to someone else other than us.
Well, a narrow one, but still a victory, so go enjoy it with your teammates. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And back to you, Evan.
2 years in a row, New York PoNY wins the Pro Championship on the East Coast. Our play of the game, this final sequence, Jeff Babbitt coming back to the disc, and Jimmy Mickle, our post-game conversation, but I would choose Jeff Babbitt as the player of the game for PoNY. How about you?
Yeah, he was such a force defensively, had such a clutch possession-saving grab on double game point. I can't argue with you there.
Play of the game brought to you by Discraft, home of the UltraStar. And it hung up just long enough for Mickle to adjust and then quickly hit Keegan on the break side for the winning goal. New York PoNY didn't win any of their games convincingly in the bracket. By 2 over Pittsburgh Temper, by 1 over Sub-Zero, by 1 over Machine. 3 wins by 4 goals in the bracket. Good enough to win another title, and they will head toward the fall as certainly one of the favorites, if not the favorite, heading into college club nationals. Well, about 25 minutes away from the second of our 3 championship games. It'll be in the mixed division. Minneapolis Dragon Thrust and the hometown team, Philly Amp. Top 2 seeds getting ready to go at it. But for now, we say so long from Pennsylvania. For Ian Toner and Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler. New York PoNY pushed to the brink by Chicago Machine. But yet again, New York wins another title. We'll see Jimmy Mickle and company in San Diego. We'll see you for the mixed championship game here in Fort Washington, 25 minutes.